Do we really need this? Do we really? Okay, because I just finished watching the episode of the Braxtons, and I'm quite conflicted, but we're going to get into it all right about now. If you are new here, I'm Denise Brady. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and watching this episode, it felt like it didn't need to be this long. Okay, a lot of the cuts to things that they're doing, I don't need. Okay, and I'm feeling like as much as this is about Traci telling her story, what happened to her, how she lived her life, how she unfortunately passed away, I'm just like, do we need the show to come back? Because it feels like whenever it comes back, it just brings up all this conflict between the sisters, and Traci was really the glue. She was the glue to the sisterhood. She brought the funny. She made it feel like this is sisterhood. So when I watch them together now, I'm just like, I can feel the difference. I can see the missing piece, the broken hearts. And I know they came back because they want to share Traci's story, help someone else out who may be going through the same thing. Also talk about grief. So like I said, I'm conflicted. I see both sides of it. I see the let's shed the light on people going through different types of cancer. Let's shed the light on therapy. Let's shed the light on grief, that you can identify and work through the heartbreak that you are going through, and you will get through it. So I see that, but then I see the cameras, I see the hair and the makeup, and it just feels disingenuous. Okay? And there are times where I feel like the Braxtons are way better than the Kardashians because the Braxtons are actually real. It's the only difference between the two shows is money and color. So I did enjoy the fact that they were being more transparent about how they were feeling and what they're going through. They've always been pretty transparent, but I was just like, what are we doing with these edits? The black and white, the makeup guy looking so serious, put on the makeup. I'm just like turned off by all of that. It feels a little pretentious. It feels a little bit like we have to make a show, but really I think there are ways to break the stigma on grief, mental health, counseling, talking about the things related to our health that we normally don't talk about. And unfortunately, a lot of us go to the doctor when it's already too late. I feel like there are other ways to share, educate, and talk about that. Now, getting into the episode, we see how they're going into dinner and there's an empty chair for Traci. And it seems like they've all been kind of grieving through not talking about it. Okay. And the one sister, what is her name? All these T's. Y'all know I'm not good with names, but you see how one of the sisters is drinking once again. Okay. She's drinking once again to cope. And we've seen that in past seasons. She got a DUI. And she seems to be going to meet through the most grief. She was grieving her first husband who passed away, Gabe. Okay. She's grieving her sister now. And she was actually there when Traci took her last breath. That has to be hard. Okay. But instead of kind of dealing with it and coping, I think she might be drinking and doing a little bit of emotional eating. And I hope that we talk more about how people cope through difficult things through substances, through other means than actually talking about what you're going through. So I hope we shed more light on that. There's a lot of discussion around health, the things that we're not talking about, but it just felt like it didn't feel right to me. And I get that they keep saying that they're coming back because Traci wanted us to. She wanted us to share her story, but it just feels kind of forced. And then you see production coming in and saying like, wait, Toni, hold up one second. We're going to have you and Spirit come in together. Let's set the scene. Let's get makeup in here one more time. We see Toni getting ready with the hair and the makeup. I'm not feeling it. Okay. And I love that they're talking about grief because in the Black community, and I think in general, people don't really talk about those harder topics, the vulnerability, the transparency. So I like that they're talking about grief, and I enjoyed that they went to grief management. Who came up with that? Grief management. Are we in a place where we can't even call it family therapy? Because you guys are in family therapy trying to work through things. Grief management. Okay? Because right now, y'all not imagine nothing. Y'all not imagine the grief. Y'all not imagine yourselves. The sisterhood feels broken. And one thing about when you have a large family who is really connected to the point that at times is very toxic, when one person who was like the glue is holding that together, the rest of the family tends to go apart because that glue is no longer there. And watching them go into the family therapy session, I could tell that they were nervous, uneasy, okay? And I love Spirit. I've seen Spirit on different shows, be a therapist. I wish they would refer to her as a therapist and that this is family group therapy. But as we have seen in the past, when they get together, all of their stuff comes up and it just becomes argumentative, fighting, calling one another out. I wish that they would go to therapy separately. And maybe we could see them in therapy sessions separately. But when they come together in therapy, like, I don't want to call it therapy, but when they had that intervention a couple years ago with Ayala, it was a mess. Okay, you see the different dynamics between the mother. You see Towanda cut her hair off because she had alopecia. So there is stuff that they're bringing to light that we don't talk about, how Black women really do experience alopecia, and she's embraced her baldness. And we see the last days of her with her sister, but at times it just felt disjointed. Okay, and I want to feel more seamless. I want to feel more genuine. It feels like we're coming together for a show. For what purpose? I want to say money, because I don't understand the dynamics between them, where they are now, why a show was necessary. And I want to know your thoughts. Do you feel like the show was necessary? Do you feel like we really need this right now? There's just so many things going on in their lives that I guess they can be honest about and transparent. You have the son going through a divorce, so he's grieving his mother, his best friend, his wife, double doses of grief. And it seems like with the wife, they're going back and forth. They're very young. And you see once again how his mom was the glue to a lot of things. And I wonder if they're going to ever bring up the father and how he fell out with the family over her passing, the funeral service. I don't know if y'all remember, but they had 2 different funeral services, one with the Braxtons, one with her husband's side of the family. It was a mess. Okay. But the one thing I want to see y'all do, where's the album at? That is what Traci really wanted, was for you guys to get together and do an album together. Why can't we just get that? Why can't we put the album together, get everybody together, and you make it the money from the album, it becomes donations for the Cancer Society, things like that. But I feel like the show is going to come back and probably break them up even more. They already live, separate coasts and separate areas. But it just feels like they've been living separate lives, and now because the show is asking them to come back, or they want the show back. I don't know who approached them, but I saw in the credits one of the sisters, Tamar, okay, is a producer. Did y'all clock that T? Okay, so it wasn't necessary. Okay, and grief is hard. It's something for me as a therapist that I don't even really specialize in. I don't really take clients on who are going through grief, because I feel like grief is a hard topic for me, because I just don't know what to say. I just never know how to make someone feel better, because sometimes as a therapist, I feel like my job is to make people feel better about things in their lives. And that is just something I have always struggled with. Is just, I have not been through a lot of grief, so I don't know how to make someone feel better about something that I personally have not experienced. And that's just me being transparent as a therapist, that's one subject for me that I'm like, okay, let me refer you to somebody else. But grief is hard. It is. You're healing from a broken heart that will never be healed. Your heart is somewhere else. And maybe for me, it might be an opportunity for me to learn and establish things about grief, how to work through that, how to work with clients through grief. But I just feel like I don't know what to really expect from this episode. This first one, I'm not really like, what are we doing here? What are we really doing? Okay, but I do appreciate that they showed us flashbacks to Traci, how she was living. I love that hummingbird tattoo. I love that they wear the hummingbird necklace. I enjoyed all those things, but it just feels like the sisters are really disconnected, and that's sad to see. But it's also reality that when the glue of a family passes away, whether it's, a parent, a grandparent, that glue is hard to get back. And I think that's something that everyone can relate to, is trying to grieve a family member, a sibling, trying to work through that. But to have cameras in your face while you're doing it, I really don't know. But of course, you know, if you guys want me to continue to recap and bring up different things, let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, you subscribe to this video. How do you deal with grief on your own? But of course, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of this first episode? Are you going to continue watching? Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.